بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. ياسين والقرآن الحكيم إنك لمن المرسلين على صراط مستقيم تنزيل العزيز الرحيم لتنذر قوما ما أنذر آباؤهم فهم غافلون. لقد حق القول على أكثرهم فهم لا يؤمنون. إنا جعلنا في أعناقهم أغلالا فهي إلى الأذقان فهم مقمحون. وجعلنا من بين أيديهم سدا ومن خلفهم سدا فأغشيناهم فهم لا يبصرون. وسواء عليهم أأنذرتهم أم لم تنذرهم لا يؤمنون. إنما تنذر من اتبع الذكر وخشي الرحمن بالغيب فبشره بمغفرة وأجر كريم. إنا نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب قرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون. قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أأتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردني الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون وآية لهم أن حملنا ذريتهم في الفلك المشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا أنطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون أصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم تختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه شعرا وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وظللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم يرى الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحييها الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وذل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء، وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء، وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء، وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء، وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء، وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء. يا نور يا قدوس، يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصام، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء، اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء، اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أقطعتها، اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك واستشفع بك إلى نفسك، وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك، وأن توزعني شكرك، وأن تلهمني ذكرك. اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع متضرع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا، وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا. اللهم واسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وانزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته، وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك، وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك، وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك، ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا، ولا لقبائه ساترا، ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت، سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي وتجرعت بجهلي، وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترته، وكم من فادح من البلاء عقلته، وكم من عثار وقيته، وكم من مكروه دفعته، وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم أعظم بلائي وافرت بي سؤالي، وقصرت بي آمالي، وقعدت بي أغلالي، وحبسني عن نفعي بعد آمالي، وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها، ونفسي بجيانتها ومثالي يا سيدي، فأسألك بعزتك أن لا يحجب عنك دوائي سوء عملي وفياني، ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري، ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملت في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا، وعلي في جميع الأمور يطوفا. إلهي ومولاي وربي، من لي غيرك؟ أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي، أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي، ولم أعترس فيه من تزيين عدوي، فغرني بما هوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء، فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك، وخالفت بعض أوامرك، فلك الحمد علي في جميع ذلك، ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاءك، والزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي، معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا مقرا مذنا معترفا، لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني، ولا مفزا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في ساعة رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري، وفكني من شدي وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي، يا من بدا خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي. هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالف برك بي، يا إلهي وسيدي وربي، أتراك مؤذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك، وبعد ما انطوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك، وليج به لساني من ذكرك، واعتقده ضميري من حبك، وبعد سكي اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيت، أو تبعد من أدنيت، أو تشرد من آويت، أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمت. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي، أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا، وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا وبشكرك مادحا، وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققا، وعلى ضمائر هوت من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة، وعلى جواري سات إلى أوطان تعبدك الطائية، وأشارت باستغفارك مذئنا ما هكذا الظن بك، ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا ربي، وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها، على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكثوم، يسير بقاء قصير مدته، فكيف تمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل وقوع المكاره فيها، وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله، لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك، وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض يا سيدي، فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي، لأي الأمور إليك أشكو، ولما من أضج وأبكي، لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدتي، فلئن سيرتني في العقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك، فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي، صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك، وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك، أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجائي عفوك، فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج العاملين، ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين، ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين، ولو نادينك إن كنت يا ولي المؤمنين، يا غاية آمال العارفين، يا غياث المستغيثين، يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين، ويا إله العالمين، أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفتهم وضاقت عذابها بمعصيتهم وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته، وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك. يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك ورأفتك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يعمل فضلك ورحمتك؟ أم كيف يهرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوت وترى مكانا، أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفا، أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا، أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا ربا، أم كيف يرجو فضلك في يدكه منها فتتركه فيها، هيهات ما ذلك الظن بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبه لما عملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك، فباليقين يقتو لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاهدك وقضيت به من إخلاج معاندك، لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما، وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما، لكنك تقدست أسماؤك أقسمت أن تملاها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأن تجل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما، أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من علي أجريتها أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبت وكل قبيح أسررت وكل جهل عملته كتمته أو أعلنته أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارهم، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنهم، وبرحمتك أغفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك رقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي في الليل والنهار بذكرك مأمورا وبخدمتك موصولا وأعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون أعمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه مؤولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قوي على خدمتك جواره، واشدد على العزيمة جوانه، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في المبادرين، واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرد، ومن كادني فكد، وجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك. وجد لي بجودك، واتف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وعقلني عثرتي، واغفر لي زلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة. فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من أعدائي. يا سريع الرضا، يا سريع الرضا، يا سريع الرضا، اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء. يا من اسمه دواء، وذكره شفاء، وطاعته غنى، ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء، وسلاحه البكاء. يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقام، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام، يا عالما لا يعلم. صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بما أنت أهله، وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله، وسلم تسليما كثيرا. سورة المباركة الفاتحة.
حضرت محمد و آل محمد. Please close your eyes and remember the baby Sakina talking to Abbas alayhi salam. Abbas, I don't want water, I want you, Abbas. سنتے اور سکینہ کے لب پر افغا پائی لوٹا او میرے امو پانی نہیں مانگوں گی اپروت نہ جاؤ تم اتنا تو ذرا سوچو مر جائیں گے بچی پانی نہیں مانگوں گی ہرگز نہیں روں گی عمو میرے آ جاؤ پانی نہیں مانگوں گی ہرگز نہیں روں گی عمو میرے آ جاؤ پرتا عیش میرے لے کر ہاتھوں میں وہ ایک خنجر بابا اے زمین پر اور سجدے میں اس کا سر کسی طرح سے بابا کو ظالم سے بچاؤں گی عمو میرے آ جاؤ پانی نہیں مانگوں گی ہرگز نہیں روں گی عمو میرے آ جاؤ اب بھی اے لہو جاری دیکھو میرے کانوں سے دامن میں بھی جلا اور رخسار نیلے اس دل کے غم سارے میں تم کو بتاؤں گی عمو میرے آ جاؤ ایک ہی اونٹ سے رہتی پر گر گر میں اٹھتا ہوں اور شم میرے کے ڈرنے بھی میں پوست بھی کاٹی ہوں بن تیرے سفر کیسے ایسے ڈوب میں کاٹوں گی عمو میرے آ جاؤ پانی نہیں مانگوں گی ہرگز نہیں روں گی عمو میرے آ جاؤ مانگا اے مجھے عمو ظالم نے کنیزی میں گھبراتی ہوں میں لیکن پابند ہوں رسی میں کس ڈر اس ظالم سے میں خود کو چھپاؤں گی عمو میرے آ جاؤ کیا نو سے گرتا ہے اور بار تمہارا سر کا شرن میں آتی ہے سب اے برناصر پر درد سفر کی میں روڈا دے سناؤں گی عمو میرے آ جاؤ آئدہ چہلے پر آپ با رکھتا سر اور سمر پہ ظالم ہاتھوں پہ چھڑی لے کر اس ظلم کو میں کیسے ان آنکھوں سے دیکھوں گی عمو میرے آ جاؤ تا خواب اے میرا سب ساتھ چلائیں گر اکبر اے بابا اور تم اور نالی اصغر اب تنہا وطن کو میں کسی طرح جاؤں گی عمو میرے آ جاؤ آج وقت گزراتا ہوتی تھی صدا کم this Sham is Zindan. Sham is Zindan is where all the sound was quiet. ہائے وقت ہوتی ہے ایسا دی کم زندان میں پر ایک دن اس بچی کے نکلا دم آواز آئی پر پانی نے مانگوں گی امو میرے آ جاؤ اب بھی احتجانی ہے زندان سے صدا جاری تنہا ہوں اکیلی ہوں ویران سے ہوں گھبراتی تنہا میں تنکوں میں کس کو میں پراؤں گی امو میرے آ جاؤ پانی نہیں مانگوں گی ہرگز نہیں روں گی امو میرے آ جاؤ پانی نہیں مانگوں گی ہرگز نہیں روں گی امو میرے آ جاؤ پانی نہیں مانگوں گی ہرگز نہیں روں گی امو میرے آ جاؤ. Please raise your hands and these we will say labbaik ya Hussein 3 times as today we are in the majlis of the 30th of Imam Hussein. The Imam Hussein placed his blessed feet on the sand of Karbala. He shouted out those words, Hal Manasi Yansurana. From his voice, let me our voice with him, saying labbaik ya Hussein. 3 times, please raise your hands, everyone. Please raise your hands and say those words that we are here with you, Ya Aba Abdullah. Labbaik ya Hussein. Labbaik ya Hussein. Labbaik ya Hussein. Durud Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad.
ما شاء الله لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل نعم المولى ونعم النصير ربي اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي أعوذ بالله من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الذي جعل الحمد مفتاحا لذكره وسببا للمزيد من فضله ودليلا على آلائه وعظمته ثم الصلاة والسلام والتحية والإكرام على النبي الأمي المكي المدني الهاشمي الذي سمي في السماوات بأحمد وفي الأراضين بأبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على وعلى أهل بيته الأطيبين الأطهرين سيما أولهم أمير المؤمنين وآخرهم بقية الله في الأراضين روحي وأرواح العالمين لتراب مقدمه الفداء ورحمة الله على محبيهم ومواليهم وشيعتهم أجمعين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم ملعونين. Amma ba'd, for the happiness of Hazrat Zahra Marziya, for the enlightenment of the graves of your marhumin, of the graves of the shuhada, ulama and siddiqeen, for the safety of the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world, and for the safety and the hastening of the reappearance of Hazrat Baqiyatullah al-A'zam, Arwahun al-Fida, please recite your loudest salawat. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. All praise due to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who's Rahman and the one who's Rahim. We started a discussion 2 days ago on the 20th of the Shuhada of Karbala regarding dua number 38 of Sahifa Sajadiyah, where the Imam is asking for pardon or forgiveness from 7 particular actions. And we said that all 7 of these actions are not related to the relationship between God and the Abd direct, but rather in relation to the society and the people that I have wronged. And it's extremely important, as I've mentioned before, that Haqqun Nas is one of those linchpins that someone will pass through the 6,000 years of the Sirat, because the Sirat is 7,000 years long. They'll pass the 6,000 years of the Sirat. Each station of the Sirat is 1,000 years long. Having passed those 6 stations, the final station is where they'll probably get caught out. And that is the station of Radd Madalim, the station of the Huquq al-Nas, the rights of other human beings. And many will be caught at that point and thrown from that Sirat into the depth of hell. And so it's extremely important that we analyze, we look at our lives, we look at our relationships with the other creations of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially the mu'mineen, and then see, is there something that we have done that may have infringed the right of another believer? Someone comes to the 5th Imam, Imam al-Baqir, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, and he says, Yabna Rasulillah, he says, I come from an area where there are many of your Shi'as. Says, we are in the hundreds there. Says, Yabna Rasulillah, why don't you come and see us? We're there, we're ready to give our lives for you. And the Imam says to him, they all claim to be my Shia. He says, yes, Yabna Rasulillah, we are all your Shia. He says, tell me, do your rich use their wealth to help the poor? Second, tell me, do the people forgive the one who has done wrong? Do they let go of it? Do they forget it? The third, do the people aid one another in their times of difficulty? He says, no, Yabna Rasulullah, they don't do that, but they are all your Shi'as, and they are all your diehard followers. The Imam says, an individual or a community that does not have any of these characteristics are not my Shi'as. They cannot be classified as my Shi'as. The one that is not concerned about the state of the other believers, the other individuals within their community. And so this is that theme that runs through this dua number 38 of Sahifa, that the Imam is talking about the responsibilities that an individual has towards the community and towards other people. And we mentioned 2 portions of it in the previous lecture, and there are 7, I said, in total, and it's highly likely that we'll only get through 1 more today, because the one that we're going to go through today is quite important. So the first 2 were this, that, oh Allah, I'm asking for your pardon from a number of things. What are they? Min madlum dhulima hadrati falam ansurhu. Says, the person who was wronged in my presence, dhulm happened to him in my presence, and I stayed quiet. I didn't say anything. I didn't help. And the second was the one that conferred a favor upon me, did me a favor, but I didn't thank the person for it. The third one that the Imam speaks about, he says, وَمِن مُسِيءٍ اعْتَذَرَ إِلَيَّ فَلَمْ أَعْذِرْهُ. Says that, and from the evildoer, the one that did wrong towards me and asked me to forgive him, but I didn't forgive him. Someone wronged me. Someone comes to me and says, some years ago I did your ghiba, or I was part and parcel of some ghiba that was done about you. Or, I was the person who, smashed your car and I drove off in the car park. And I didn't know how to tell you, but now it's Laylatul Qadr, I feel bad, so I'm going to tell you. Or, I'm the person who, stole something from you, I didn't realize, then I was embarrassed and I couldn't tell you. But again, now I've heard something about it in a lecture, I want to come back and I want to ask for forgiveness. At that point, a person has two options. Either they forgive, or they use it and they hold it against that person for the rest of their life. To forgive is what is ideal. That's what we want. But unfortunately, the situation is such that there are certain individuals who will hold a grudge until their dying day. And even beyond that, when they go into their grave, even when they die, this person shouldn't come to my funeral, this person, I have nothing to do with this person. And sometimes it's even worse when it's a blood relative. Mu'min is one side, but then when it's a blood relative that one has done qat raham with, cut off with them. And if they've done something wrong, and then I refuse to forgive them. In fact, if Abu Abdullah had taken that stance with Hur, for example, Hur was the one who came, I'm the one that scared your daughters and your wives and your women folk. I'm the one that is the reason for you being stuck here. I'm the one that stopped anyone from joining you. And the Imam just says one thing to him. He asked the Imam, Hal li min tawbah? Is there any way that I can be forgiven? And the Imam looks at him and says, Irfa' ra'sak ya Shaykh. Says, lift your head, O Shaykh. Why have you got your head down in embarrassment? Says, lift your head. Of course everything is forgiven, everything is forgotten. And he pulls. This is what is required from the believer, that no matter how difficult the situation is, if someone comes and asks for forgiveness, then an individual should forgive them. And we're going to look at 4 sub-points to this one main point to be able to understand the importance of this forgiving someone. Because forgiving someone is made up of 4 different parts. The first thing to understand this idea, this concept of forgiveness is this. That the first stage is the mu'min must not do something that he later must apologize for. Just don't do it in the first place. Don't do that thing that later on you know that you're going to have to go and apologize. Or you'll be in a situation where you're going to have to feel bad about what you've done. If you're going to, break a law, or you're going to spread a rumor about someone, or you're going to say something about someone, whatever it is. And then afterwards you have to come and apologize because for whatever reason it is. The narration says, just don't do it. The believer is the one who doesn't even get themselves into that situation. And that's the difference between the mu'min and the munafiq, between the believer and the hypocrite. That the narration says, فَإِنَّ الْمُؤْمِنِ لَا يُسِيءُ وَلَا يُعْتَذِرُ. Says the mu'min doesn't do anything bad, and so he doesn't need to apologize later for it. But the munafiq is the one that does something bad every single day, and every single day he has to apologize for the silly thing that he just did. Because he doesn't learn from his lessons. He just keeps on repeating the same mistakes over and over, and then he has to keep apologizing over and over. So the believer just doesn't do those things. He doesn't cut corners, doesn't put himself in a situation where he'll have to be embarrassed and go and apologize. Some people, they burn all their bridges. When they get angry, They burn all their bridges. They destroy relationships with everyone around them. They get upset. This person's like this, everyone's like this. They say whatever they want, and then afterwards they're like, oh, yeah, I forgot. I'd like to, can you welcome me back into the fold? You've just burnt every single bridge. And yes, people are gracious and they accept, but there are some people whose very personality is like this, that every single time they get annoyed, every single time something happens, they burn all their bridges. They burn everything down. So just don't do something that will, in the end, cause you to be in a state of embarrassment that you'll have to apologize. I work in an office, I'm getting paid for a job, I cut corners. Eventually it comes and it catches up with me. Or I work in a particular employment and I get sticky fingers and things start going from the till because eventually it's going to come and catch up with me and I'm going to have to apologize. So the mu'min is the one that doesn't do something that he will later need to apologize for. He stops himself before that. In one of the narrations from Imam al-Sadiq, salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Imam says, لا ينبغي للمؤمن أن يذل نفسه. Says, it is not allowed for the believer to humiliate himself. He cannot humiliate himself. So the person that's there says, Yabna Rasulullah, how does a person humiliate themselves? And the Imam says that he embarks upon or enters into a work or task that he does not have the ability to complete. He doesn't have the ability to do the job, but he just jumps into it and says, no, I can do it, and then ends up being in a state of humiliation because then people end up saying, well, you're useless, you can't do this job. And so he ends up humiliating himself. For the believer, it is not allowed in any way, shape or form to humiliate themselves. And one way of humiliation is that I go and I do something that later I'm going to need to apologize for. The second point is, if I have done something wrong, then what is important is that I feel bad for the wrong that I did instantly. If I no longer feel bad about, burning bridges or spreading rumors or, being angry, I don't feel bad about it. I don't feel bad about, doing things that will disrupt someone else's life, then that's a whole different matter. That soul is dead. But the base level of the human being is when they do something bad, they instantly apologize. They realize, and this is a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they realize what they have done is wrong, and so then they instantly seek the forgiveness of Allah or the person that they have wronged. One of the companions was in the masjid, and Bilal, the mu'adhin of the Prophet, entered into the masjid. The companion was one of the close companions of the Prophet, a good friend of Bilal. He sees Bilal enter and he says, Yabna Sauda, to call him, O son of a black woman. Bilal was black. He says, O son of a black woman. Instantly, after he said that, he realizes, what did I just say? He goes to Bilal, he apologizes, he lays down on the ground and he puts his face on the earth. And he says, Bilal, put your foot on my face. Bilal says, no, it's fine, you apologize. He says, no. He says, what I just said was unacceptable. I need to feel the humiliation for what I've said. I cannot have your apology just like that. Put your foot on my face should rub into the earth, and then forgive me. So the believer is the one. If you do something wrong, straight away, they seek that forgiveness. Straight away, they don't wait around. They straight away seek that forgiveness. They concede and they look to be forgiven. One of the ulama in Qazwin, Mullah Khalil Qazwini, this is about 300 plus years ago, He came from Qazwin and he was visiting Kashan in Iran, where Mullah Muhsin Faith Kashani was the marja or the alim of the city. So Mullah Khalil comes to visit him, and your Mullah Muhsin Faith Kashani is sitting with all of his students, and Mullah Khalil and Mullah Muhsin, they begin this discussion amongst each other. And Mullah Khalil, on the Zahir, he wins this discussion, this debate with Mullah Muhsin. He says that no, his viewpoint is correct, and he presents all his dalil and istidlal, and Mullah Muhsin, he concedes. And it's embarrassing, like all of those students, they're all sitting there, they're all learning from Mullah Muhsin, and this someone else comes, Garche, he's a big alim as well. But anyway, he defeats him in this discussion or debate. When Mullah Khalil returns back to Qazwin and he consults his books, he realizes, oh, what I said was wrong. What Mullah Muhsin was saying was correct. Qazwin to Kashan is not a small distance. It takes, in that time, it wasn't like a flight or a day. It took days. Straight away, Mullah Khalil from there packs his bags again and leaves straight to Qazwin. Comes back to the house of, to Kashan, and comes back to the house of Mullah Muhsin, knocks on the door, Mullah Muhsin opens it, sees he's standing there, says, you're back again, what happened? He says, Ya Muhsinu qad atak al-musi. Says, oh Muhsin, accept the one that is the wrongdoer. Says, you are right, I was wrong. I've come back to announce that what you were saying in that discussion, you were correct. So when one does something wrong, instantly look to have that wrong corrected. Ali ibn Yaqtin is the Wazir of Harun al-Rashid. He was the minister of Harun al-Rashid. And he was also a Shia of Imam al-Kadhim. Imam al-Kadhim had sent him into the court of Harun al-Rashid and told him that you remain there and help all our Shias. And the Imam alayhi salam also did dua for him. There were like 3 main du'as that he said that I will pray that you will never face imprisonment. You will never face the sword of Harun, and also you will never ever be short of money in your life. But the requirement is you help the Shias when they come. One day, one of the Shias, Ibrahim Jamal from Kufa, comes to Baghdad to visit Ali ibn Yaqtin to have some matter resolved. Ali ibn Yaqtin's having a bad day, whatever it is. He doesn't pay any heed to Ibrahim Jamal. In fact, he's a bit harsh to him. Ibrahim Jamal leaves and he goes back home. Later on that year, Ali ibn Yaqtin, on the way back from Hajj, or on the way to Hajj, he stops via Medina to visit Imam al-Kadhim. He knocks at the door and the servant opens it, says, yes. Says, tell Imam al-Kadhim that Ali ibn Yaqtin is here to see him. The servant goes inside. He comes back out. Says, Imam al-Kadhim has said, do not let Ali ibn Yaqtin in. So don't give him any permission to enter. Says, wait, did you tell him it's me, Ali ibn Yaqtin, the minister of... He says, yes, Ali ibn Yaqtin, the minister. Ali ibn Yaqtin is this person that Imam al-Kadhim, he said to him that, Ali, when I was in Arafah, previously, when I was in Arafah doing dua, you were in my mind the whole time. Imagine, a Ma'soom Imam is constantly thinking about you and doing dua for you. This is what the maqam of Ali ibn Yaqtin was. Imam says, don't let Ali ibn Yaqtin in. Ali ibn Yaqtin doesn't know what to do. He's pacing outside the house of the Imam. He says, though someone's just pulled the rug out from under his feet. How is it possible that Imam al-Kadhim alayhi salam doesn't want Ali ibn Yaqtin in the house? Eventually Imam al-Kadhim comes out to do something and Ali ibn Yaqtin rushes towards the Imam. Ya ibn Rasulullah, you're not letting me into the house. Did I do something wrong? The Imam says, how do you expect me to give you entry into the house when you didn't help your brother when he came? What did you do to Ibrahim al-Jammal? Ali ibn Yaqtin realizes that this effect, this being pushed away from the door of the Hujjah of Allah, falling from favor from the Hujjah of Allah, is because of those words that he uttered to Ibrahim al-Jammal. Says, Ya Ibn Rasul, how do I improve it? Says, go, how can I resolve this situation? Says, go and ask his forgiveness. And then Imam, with the power of Imamate, transports him from Baghdad to Kufa. He finds the house of Ibrahim al-Jammal. He knocks at the door. Ibrahim Jammal opens, and Ali ibn Yaqtin, the minister, is standing there. Says, Ali, you're here, come in. Says, no. He lays down on the ground, just like that companion did, places his face in the earth, says, put your foot on my face. Says, this face must feel the humiliation and then forgive me. He does that, and then he comes back to Imam al-Kadhim. And Imam al-Kadhim greets him even more warmly than he would usually do. Why? Because as soon as he did that wrong and he became aware of the wrong that he'd done, he sought forgiveness from that individual. The third aspect of this forgiveness is accepting the apology of a person. The person, this is what the dua is saying, right? That someone comes and they apologize to me and I didn't accept their apology. They wronged me. They came and they apologized, but I refused to accept their apology. If someone is apologizing, then accept it. That's what the believer should do. Holding grudges is not in the repertoire of a believer. If you have a grudge against another believer, believe me, you will not be able to ascend spiritually. Pray as much as you want, go to as many ziyarats as you want, go to as many. If there is that speck of ill will towards another mu'min, it's not going to help you. It will stop you, all of your ziyarat, everything, nothing will help you. In fact, Amir al-Mu'mineen salawatullah wa salamuhu alayhi, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad, says, how bad is that one individual who doesn't accept the apology of the one that apologizes to him? And then in another narration he says that I will not allow him to enter into the pool of Kawthar. Amir al-Mu'mineen is Qasimun Nari wal Jannah. He's the one that will divide who goes to heaven and who goes to hell. Says, I will not allow that person into heaven, into the pool of Kawthar. The one that doesn't accept the apologies of others. Says he won't be allowed to enter into the pool. And you know, entry into heaven, one of the prerequisites and the requirements is a dip in the pool of Kawthar. You must dip in the pool of Kawthar, drink from it, and then rejuvenate that youth, and then you're entered into heaven. If you're not allowed to dip in the pool of Kawthar, then you can't enter into heaven. So an individual that has a sand's grain worth of ill will towards another mu'min shall not enter into Jannah. One of the poets of the time of the Holy Prophet in the period of Jahiliyyah that was famous in Mecca was a man by the name of Ka'b ibn Zuhair. When the Holy Prophet announced his prophetic mission, the mushrikeen came to Ka'b and they said that you do your thing now. We need to discredit, we need to humiliate this Muhammad. So Ka'b ibn Zuhair began to write poems against the Prophet, making fun of the Prophet, belittling the Prophet, humiliating him, trying. And then what they would do is these small couplets, they would teach them to the children. And the children would recite these couplets of poetry, making fun of the Prophet and stone him as they did it. This carried on for 13 years. 13 years. Ka'b ibn Zuhair continued to make poems against the Holy Prophet. 13 years. The Holy Prophet migrates to Medina. After the migration from Medina, comes back, Fath Makkah, 20 years. Even while the Prophet's in Medina, Ka'b ibn Zuhair is writing poetry against the Holy Prophet, making fun of the Prophet, belittling the Holy Prophet. 20 years pass, and the Holy Prophet now returns from Medina to the event of Fath Makkah. The Muslims overrun Mecca, they take control of it. The Holy Prophet says everyone is forgiven except 12 individuals who will be sentenced to death. One of them was Ka'b ibn Zuhair. There was Abu Jahl, his son, a few other people. Majority of them, the Holy Prophet ended up forgiving anyway. But one of these individuals that was sentenced to death was Ka'b ibn Zuhair, because he was one of those individuals that caused a lot of problems for the Prophet, a lot of upset to the Prophet through his poems and his words. They come and they tell Ka'b ibn Zuhair that you have been sentenced to death by the Prophet. He says, what do I do? What do I do? He begins to write a poem. It's available online, those that are interested. 58 verses he writes. 58 verses. He comes to the Holy Prophet, he wraps his face, and he begins to recite this poem in front of him. And in it is this line, upon which then the Prophet forgives him. Says, أنبئت أن رسول الله أوعدني والعفو عند رسول الله مأمول. He says, I have been told that the Prophet has condemned you to death. But this man that I know to be the Prophet, I know his nature is forgiveness. The Holy Prophet hears that, he says, you're forgiven. Go. 20 years, he made the life of the Prophet hell. But one apology and the Prophet forgets and forgives all of it. Look at Abu Sufyan. Hind, his wife, is the one that cut out the liver of Hamza alayhi salam and consumed the liver of the uncle of the Prophet. When Abu Sufyan is there, the Holy Prophet says that what is it that we should do? What is it that we should do with you? And they replied to him, they said to him, Antal Kareem wabnul Kareem. Says, you are the one of magnanimity, the one that is magnanimous, the son of the Kareem as well. Your father was also Kareem. The Holy Prophet hearing this, he says, Antum tulaqa. Says, all of you are forgiven. You're freed. You're freed. And this is what Sayyidah Zainab refers to in the khutbah that she gives in the court of Yazid. When she addresses him as Yabna Talaqa, she's referring to this event of Fath Makkah. Oh, the son of our freed prisoner. The Holy Prophet freed them. The Holy Prophet gave them their freedom, otherwise they were destined to be killed. But that one word of asking for forgiveness, apologizing, and the Prophet forgave. Someone does something wrong to us a week before, and they come to us 3-4 days later, a week later, and they ask for forgiveness. We're like, nope, not until I die. I'm not forgiving you. I take you down to hell with me. Doesn't matter if I go, doesn't matter if I'm damned, as long as you are damned as well. I don't care what happens to anyone else. I'm going to take you down with me. Ka'b ibn Zuhair, 20 years he led a campaign against the Prophet. But the Holy Prophet forgave him. the requirement of forgiveness. The fourth Imam, he is saying that the one, forgive me, O Allah, for what? For the individual who came to me and sought my pardon, apologized to me, and I refused to accept his apology. So accepting the apology of the one. The first is, don't do wrong, that you need to apologize for it. The mu'min doesn't do anything that he then later needs to apologize for. The second is, if someone comes to apologize to you, then accept it. The third stage is that, at the second stage, if you've done wrong, then apologize. The third stage is if someone's wronged you and they come to ask for forgiveness, then accept it. And the fourth stage, and the most difficult of all of these, is finding an excuse for someone's behavior. Finding an excuse. Someone passes me, doesn't say salam. My instant, look at his arrogance, he thinks he's better than us. Rather than saying, maybe he didn't see me. Maybe he didn't see me. Or this person always comes to my house, doesn't invite me to his. He's a miser. No, maybe he can't afford it. Maybe his situation. Think of excuses, 70 excuses constantly, over and over for someone. But we get hold of a small little thing and we blow it all out of proportion. We blow it so far out of proportion that now it's unrecognizable. This old poor person just didn't see me. That's the truth. But yet, I take it to heart. And the only reason I take it to heart is because of my arrogance. Because I think I'm something special, something that deserves some sort of special treatment. And because I think that I deserve that special treatment, I get offended. But if I realize that I am nothing and everything I have is because Allah has bestowed it upon me, then I don't get offended. When people say, and I look for excuses for a reason. Imam Ali alayhi salatu wasalam, he says, "Iqbal uzra akhik." He says, accept the excuse of your brother. And if he has not got an excuse for you, then make an excuse for him. Accept his excuse. And if he doesn't have an excuse, make one up for him. But you cannot judge him. You cannot say that. You can't make up something about that person. Find an excuse. See someone speaking to a na-mahram and in the wrong way or whatever. Maybe, inshallah, it's a mahram. Maybe it's his sister. Maybe it's someone. And then again, obviously, it's a little bit, it goes back to point number one. The mu'min shouldn't put themselves in a situation where they later need to apologize. They need to clarify things. When the Holy Prophet married Safiya, she was the daughter of Huway ibn Akhtab, the Jewish leader of Khaybar. After Fath Khaybar, he was killed in the battle. Safiya sent her a proposal to the Holy Prophet. She liked the akhlaq of the Prophet and everything. And so the Holy Prophet married her. And it was a new marriage. So they're in Medina. They come out of the mosque of the Prophet talking with each other and they're walking. And a group of the ashab are there. So the Holy Prophet sees them as they're walking past. The Holy Prophet stops. He turns back and says, "She's my wife." Like before any thought or anything can come into the minds of anyone, but straight away clarifies the situation. So sometimes there is a need for that as well. Some people thrive off, putting themselves in a situation so that someone creates a rumor about them so that they can then be the one that comes out on top and say, "Ha, you all said this about me, but look, this is the truth. See, that's why you're all kafir." So this is, some people seek that sort of controversy. That's not acceptable even for the believer. Believer must do everything he can not to put himself into that position. So the third thing that Imam al-Sajjad alayhi salam is asking from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he's saying, oh Allah, forgive me for the times when the one that wronged me comes to ask for forgiveness from me and I did not forgive him. Karbala has many examples. Hur is just one. If you look at the amount of people that defected from the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad, I think it's around 30. 30 individuals defected from the army of Umar ibn Sa'ad and joined Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Some of them with deep, long-standing issues with Ahlul Bayt. Some of them who fought against Amir al-Mu'mineen in Siffin. For example, Abu al-Hutuf and his brother Sa'ad, the Ghafari brothers. They were part of the defectors of Siffin. They were the Khawarij of Nahrawan, and Imam Ali alayhi salam goes to battle with them. And these are the handful that survived from Nahrawan, and they find themselves in Karbala. Or someone like Zuhair ibn Qayn. Zuhair fought against Imam Ali in Siffin. He was in the army of Muawiyah. He was one of the people that raised the flag to avenge the death of Uthman, and he blamed Imam Ali for killing Uthman. He said, Ali killed Uthman. But yet Zuhair, he joins Abu Abdullah. On the flip side, Shimar was in the army of Imam Ali in Siffin. He was one of the veterans of Siffin. He was injured in the battle of Siffin. But that same Shimar, you know what happened and what he did. If Imam al-Hussein was as rigid as we were, then those 30 individuals would have all been destined to hell. In fact, the way I live my life, the things that I do, I would certainly be humiliated and destined to hell were it not for the magnanimity of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam that manifest that magnanimity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Abu Sha'tha is in the army of Yazid. But the moment that a letter comes from Umar ibn Sa'ad to Hur that says that make sure that you surround Hussein from all four sides, don't let him leave. And if he tries to leave, then kill him. Abu Sha'tha, at that moment, he wakes up, he says, Hur, up until this point, we were just supposed to stay with him. Now you're talking about killing him. He says, no, I'm not going to stay. He defects, he joins Imam al-Hussein. Did Imam al-Hussein ever mention anything of it? That Abu Sha'tha, you people, you did this to us, you did this to us. No. Hatta did Ali Akbar mention anything? Did Abbas mention anything? No. Everyone let it go. Because the one that has apologized and has come across, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that individual, you forgive that person for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's only if they want to come across. They have that sadness in their heart. But there are many there in Karbala who didn't have that regret in their hearts for their actions. There are many that were there on the land of Karbala that for years after Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam would remember who they were. But there is one person who is remembered over and over by Imam al-Sajjad, asking constantly. Whenever Minhal would come and update the Imam regarding what Mukhtar had done, the Imam would just ask him one question over and over. And that was, have they caught Harmala yet? What is it that this Harmala did to Ali Muhammad? What is it that he did that broke the hearts of the family of the Prophet? When Mukhtar caught Harmala finally, he said to him, tell me, what is it that you did in Karbala? Said Mukhtar, I fired 10 arrows. 4 hit their target. Says, what were the 4 that hit their target? Said, the first arrow that I fired was an arrow into the water bag of Abbas that split the bag, and when the water began to flow, the Maqtal says, فَوَقَفَ الْعَبَّاسِ. Says, I realized the heart of Abbas was in that bag of water. He wouldn't stop as long as the water was there, so I fired an arrow into that bag of water. An arrow that pierced the bag of water and entered into the chest of Abbas. As the water flowed upon the ground, Abbas alayhi salam stopped his horse. Says, the second arrow that I fired on the day of Ashura was a 3-headed arrow that I fired into the neck of the 6-month-old child of Hussein. The third arrow that I fired was a 3-headed poisoned arrow that I fired into the chest of Hussein. This arrow went so deep inside the chest of Aba Abdullah that the Imam couldn't pull it out from the front. So instead he had to force the arrow through his body, pushed it through till the head came out the back, and the Imam had to pull the arrow out from his back. The Maqtal says a fountain of blood gushed from the chest of Hussein alayhi salam. He filled his hands with the blood. He threw one cup towards the heavens. The narrator says, by Allah, I never saw a single drop fall back down. And then he filled another handful of his blood and he poured it on his face and said that I will meet Allah in this state, and I will tell my grandfather that this person and that person killed me. And the 4th arrow that I fired, Harmala says, on the day of Ashura, was an arrow into the chest of Abdullah ibn Hassan. This 10-year-old boy that came running out at the time just before Asr, when Imam al-Hussein had fallen from his horse to the ground, and a man came to strike Imam al-Hussein with his sword. This young boy came running from the tents. The Imam saw him, said, Zainab, grab hold of the boy, but she was unable to keep hold of him. He ran out. This young boy, he was just a baby when Imam al-Hassan died. So he only knew Imam al-Hussein all his life. He saw Imam al-Hussein as his father. He was close to him. He ran from the tents into the battlefield. As this individual was trying to strike the head of Imam al-Hussein, Abdullah ibn Hassan places his hand in the way. This sword hits his arm and severs his arm from his body. He falls into the lap of Imam al-Hussein saying, oh uncle, they've killed me. The Imam says to him, my son, be patient, for soon you will be with your father and grandfather. Harmala says, I saw this 10-year-old boy in the lap of Hussein, and I fired an arrow into his heart, and I killed the boy in the lap of Hussein. Mukhtar says to him, Harmala, did your heart not break for Hussein at any point? Did you not have any mercy for Hussein at any point? He says, Mukhtar, if you ask me, there was one time where my heart broke for Hussein. Says, when was that time? Says, when I fired the 3-headed arrow into the neck of the 6-month-old child of Hussein. He says, I looked at the face of Hussein. Hussein looked down at this child. It was a look of loss, as though Hussein had nothing else to give. I knew that Hussein was truly gharib at this point. There was no one by his side. The effect of this arrow, your Imam says in one of the nahiyat, Assalamu ala al-tifl al-radi' madbuh min al-uzn ila al-uzn min al-warid ila al-warid. Salam be upon that child that was slaughtered from ear to ear, from vein to vein. Then the Maqtal says that the moment the arrow hit the neck of Ali Asghar, فَفَتَحَ عَيْنَيْهِ, he opened his eyes. eyes. وَالنَّظَرَ إِلَى وَجْهِ أَبِي, he looked towards the face of his father. يَرَفْرَفُ كَالطَّيْرِ الْمَذْبُوحِ, the boy began kicking his hands and his feet like a bird that has just been slaughtered. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Allah, for the sake of these tears, forgive our sins. Ya Allah, forgive the sins of our parents. Ya Allah, those of our parents that are alive, give them long lives. Those of our parents that have left this world, give them a place next to Ali Muhammad in Jannah. Oh Allah, those who are ill, give them shifa'ah. Those who are in debt, clear their debts. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq to go on the ziyarat of Imam al-Hussein this year and every year. Ya Allah, give us tawfiq for Hajj and Umrah this year and every year. Ya Allah, keep safe the followers of Ahlul Bayt around the world. Ya Allah, give victory to the people of Palestine. Ya Allah, destroy every oppressor wherever in the world they may be. Ya Allah, hasten the reappearance of the Imam of our time and allow us to be amongst his true muntadhireen, his true waiters, for the acceptance of these du'as and any other du'as that you brothers and sisters have brought. Please recite 3 of your loudest salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein, Ya Hussein. Hai hai Ali Akbar, hai hai Ali Akbar. Kehti थी है माँ खूं भरी मैयत से लिपट कर. Hai hai Ali Akbar, hai hai Ali Akbar, hai hai Ali Akbar, hai hai Ali Akbar. अरमान पहनाऊंगी पोशाक शानी, अरमान पहनाऊंगी पोशाक शानी. अफसोस के रासाई न तुझको ये जवानी, कैसा था मुक़द्दर. हाय हाय अली अकबर, हाय हाय अली अकबर. कहती थी है माँ खूं भरी मैयत से लिपट कर. हाय हाय अली अकबर, हाय हाय अली अकबर. 18 बरस पाल के परवान चढ़ाया, 18 बरस पाल के परवान चढ़ाया. और गैसों वाला है मेरा खून में नहाया. कुर्बान हो मादर, हाय हाय अली अकबर, हाय हाय अली अकबर. कहती थी है माँ खूं भरी मैयत से लिपट कर. हाय हाय अली अकबर, हाय अली अकबर. माँ तेरी जुदाई में भला कैसे जिएगी, माँ तेरी जुदाई में भला कैसे जिएगी मर जाएगी सुगरा जो खबर तेरी सुनेगी अब क्या करूँ दिलबर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर कहती थी है माँ खून भरी मैयत से लिपट कर हाय हाय अली अकबर हाय हाय अली अकबर या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन या हुसैन मोहम्मद व आल मोहम्मद सल्लल्लाहु صل على محمد وآل محمد زيارة وارث السلام عليك يا وارث آدم صفوة الله السلام عليك يا وارث نوح النبي الله السلام عليك يا وارث إبراهيم خليل الله السلام عليك يا وارث موسى كليم الله السلام عليك يا وارث عيسى روح الله السلام عليك يا وارث محمد حبيب الله السلام عليك يا وارث أمير المؤمنين عليه السلام السلام عليك يا ابن محمد المصطفى السلام عليك يا ابن علي المرتضى السلام عليك يا ابن فاطمة الزهراء السلام عليك يا ابن خديجة الكبرى السلام عليك يا ثار الله وابن ثاره والوتر الموتور أشهد أنك قد أقمت الصلاة وآتيت الزكاة وأمرت بالمعروف ونهيت عن المنكر واعتقت الله رسوله حتى أتاك اليقين فلعن الله أمة قتلتك ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فليدمه يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله أشهد أنك كنت نورا في الأصلاب الشامخة والأرحام المطهرة لم تنجسك الجاهلية وأنجاسها ولم تلبسك من مدلهمات ثيابها واشهد أنك من دعائم الدين واركان المؤمنين واشهد أنك الإمام البر التقي الرزي الزكي زكي الهادي المهدي واشهد أن الأئمة من ملك كلمة التقوى وعلم الهدى والعروة الوثقى والحجة على أهل الدنيا واشهد الله وملائكته وأنبياءه ورسوله أني بكم مؤمن وميا بكم موقن بشراع ديني وخواتيم عملي وقلبي لقلبكم سلم وأمري لأمركم متبع صلوات الله عليكم وعلى أرواحكم وعلى جسادكم وعلى جسامكم وعلى شاهدكم وعلى غائبكم وعلى ظاهركم وعلى باطنكم بأبي أنت وأمي يا ابن رسول الله بأبي أنت وأمي يا أبا عبد الله لقد عظمت الرزية وجلت المصيبة بك علينا وعلى جميع أهل السماوات والأرض فلعن الله أمة أسرجت وألجمت وتهيأت لقتالك يا مولاي يا أبا عبد الله قصدت حرمك وأتيت إلى مشهدك أسأل الله بالشأن الذي لك عنده وبالمحل الذي لك لديه أن يصلي على محمد وآل محمد وأن يجعلني معكم في الدنيا والآخرة زيارة علي بن الحسين عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن رسول الله، السلام عليك يا ابن نبي الله، السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك يا ابن الحسين الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها الشهيد، السلام عليك أيها المظلوم وذل المظلوم. لعن الله أمة قتلتك، ولعن الله أمة ظلمتك، ولعن الله أمة سمعت بذلك فرضيت به. السلام عليك يا ولي الله وابن وليه، لقد عظمت المصيبة وجلت الرزية بك علينا وعلى جميع المسلمين، ولعن الله أمة قتلتك، وأبرأ إلى الله وإليك منهم. زيارة فوضى الشهداء عليه الصلاة والسلام. السلام عليكم يا أولياء الله وأحباء، السلام عليكم يا أصفياء الله ووداء، السلام عليكم يا أنصار دين الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار رسول الله، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار فاطمة سيدة نساء العالمين، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي محمد الحسن بن علي ولي الناصح، السلام عليكم يا أنصار أبي عبد الله، بأبي أنتم وأمي طبتم، وطابت الأرض التي فيها دفنتم، وفزتم فوزا عظيما، فيا ليتني كنت معكم فأفوز معكم. زيارة حضرة عباس عليه السلام. السلام عليك يا ابن أمير المؤمنين، السلام عليك أيها العبد الصالح المطيع لله ولرسوله، أشهد أنك قد جاهدت ونسحت وصبرت حتى أتاك اليقين. لعن الله الظالمين لكم من الأولين والآخرين، والحقهم من درك الجحيم. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليك يا محمد الباقر، السلام عليك يا جعفر الصادق، السلام عليك يا موسى الكاظم، السلام عليك يا علي رضا، السلام عليك يا محمد التقي، السلام عليك يا علي نقي، السلام عليك يا حسن العسكري، السلام عليك يا مولانا يا صاحب العصر والزمان، الأمان والأمان والأمان، السلام عليك يا إمام الإنس والجان، السلام عليك يا كعبة الإيمان، أجله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك، السلام عليك يا أهل بيت نبوة جميعا ورحمة الله.